In this video, what we're going to do is understand what is frontal plane rotation. I've got an amazing drill that will help us with that aspect, rhythm, weight shift, and we're going to have a look at one of the most successful players of all time and how he built his whole swing around this idea of frontal plane rotation. Let's have a look. Now, rather than do this in the sort of traditional sense, the way we sort of talk about a concept and then introduce a drill to help us find that concept, we're going to do this the other way. We're going to introduce a drill, feel the movement, and then see how that relates to the golf swing using Colin Montgomerie. Anyway, the drill then is, imagine you have a bucket of water and the aim is just to swing it across your frontal plane. So frontal plane is basically up and down our ball to target line, that way and then that way. There's a few fabulous things that go on there. I think this exercise is generally used to feel rhythm and weight shift. So you're going to get that for free today, so to speak. So as I make the movement, I'm swinging forwards. Notice which moves first, my mass or the bucket. And what you'll see is that you'll swing it forwards and then you'll move your mass. So I'm moving my weight to then propel the arms and then vice versa. And that is a lovely sense of sequencing and weight shift. As a consequence of that, I'm getting frontal plane rotation. I'm getting this motion where my body is starting to tilt and it's starting to cartwheel this way. What it's not doing, of course, is this. In the golf swing, when we think about rotation, then typically we would think about it in this manner. We sort of have drills like this, don't we, where we rotate, and that is transverse rotation. So transverse rotation is around a vertical axis, so it's a horizontal plane rotation, like so. So when we think about that in human form, that would be a discus thrower. And we've mentioned on the channel, we've gone through this quite a bit recently, the perils of building your golf swing around transverse rotation. Whereas frontal plane rotation is rotating around a horizontal axis, so the rotation or rotational plane is vertical. So that is more like in human form, is a cartwheel. Now, as I'm getting that frontal plane rotation, I'm also getting this wonderful sense of length down my right side. You can see that rotation there has given me this look as opposed to this look. This look with crumpled knees, too much spine flexion, etc. But you can't build a golf swing just on frontal plane rotation, surely. Surely there has to be front to back as well. Well, let's have a look at Colin Montgomerie. Now, and before we do, remember, Colin Montgomerie is one of the most successful golfers of all time, bar a few majors. 31 tour victories, 7 Order of Merits in a row, 8 in total. And if we look at his motion, from the beginning, he'll start with his hips swaying to the right, and at the top of the swing, his pelvis is going that way, and the spine or his head certainly is more centered. And then in the opposite direction, it goes in the opposite direction. So the pelvis goes from under him, and he gets this tilt, hence that kind of high finish and look like so. That is a swing built purely on frontal plane rotation. And the reason Montgomerie's swing is built that way is because, and I'm pretty sure he never thought about it in those terms, but just watching some footage from him from years ago explaining how he sees the golf swing, is he learnt trying to keep the club head as square and as straight for as long as possible. So he's trying to keep the club moving straight up and down the line, which of course is impossible, but he's trying to do it for as long as possible, and he's trying to keep the face as square for as long as possible. And this, if nothing else, is a great indication of how one's interpretation of movement and how our intentions really shape our pattern. So as he's trying to keep the club moving down the line for as long as he can, you can see how, back to our slinging the water drill, he's getting these twists and these tilts in his swing. He's going that way and then he's going under. So he's getting this pattern and then this pattern. That is our frontal plane rotation. Now, I don't know about you, but I find that fascinating how a player's whole kind of swing shape and body pattern has evolved over time around their concept of what they're trying to do with the club. And I see that in coaching all the time. I see players whose higher priority is to try and get some kind of compression. So we end up with a high trail side kind of hitting down like so. And most commonly, of course, players who are trying to swing from the inside. And, we all start off over the top and in our journeys learn to have to swing it from the inside. But if that becomes too much of a priority or too strong in our sort of hierarchy of what we're trying to do, we end up with these tilts and bends, arms sucking down, and probably most commonly, of course, the pelvis moving forwards and early extending, which again keeps the arms behind us. So that notion of the body self-organizing around the highest intentions of what we're trying to do with the club. Okay then, so back to our drill. So I would play around with this in this manner. I'd get the feeling of the bucket swinging, the bucket of water swing, and I try and get that rhythmical quality and the sense of shifting the body, so a little bit of weight shift or pelvis shift to sling the arms and vice versa. That's already given me frontal plane rotation as well as amazing weight shift and sequencing. So I do that with a bucket of balls maybe, or just something with any kind of weight. So if we cut to a session I did this week, this is one of my young students, Tanuka, who's doing a great job. He had a pattern which had his head sort of swaying over this way a little bit and the chest moving too far over. So we got him, rather than sort of discussing how the head stays still and having to fix all the bits again separately, we got him connecting with the basket swinging drill. And he said, off camera, or might even have it on camera here, he said how he feels that length in his right side all of a sudden. You can see me actually step into the shot here and try and have him swing up higher and feel even more stretch down that right side. And then just play around hitting some wedges, 9-irons, just some half swings. So I like to sort of start it swinging forwards to get that sense of rhythm and see if I can create that same sense of rhythm and the plane going this way. And I would just hit a few of those. And there's a certain rhythm that you get as you move that way as well. So are we saying then that the golf swing is built purely on frontal plane rotation? Well, absolutely not. I mean, that is how Montgomerie built his swing, and clearly it works brilliantly well, and it has some wonderful qualities. It keeps the club online, it stops the club from spinning out, he gets weight shift, he gets the club dropping down. It also leads him to sort of lose his posture quite a bit as well. I'm not sure it's the most powerful of patterns either. Clearly worked very well for him. I would like to see it as a blend with other motions. So what parts of that or other aspects would be the depth to the hips. So the right side needs to pull back and behind us. I'd like to see more vertical as well. So a little bit more up and down of that right side. So as we've talked about in videos before, that the right knee and hip are moving back and up, down and forwards, while having that aspect of frontal plane rotation. So there's always a blend, and depending on the player I've got in front of me, we would just bring in a targeted pattern to get the right mix of these overall movement patterns. And there we go. Who knew that a golf swing has more in common with a cartwheel than it does a discus throw? Now, if that has piqued your interest and you want to know more about how the body moves in the swing beyond the sort of basic patterns that we're taught as beginners, then I've got a complete video link down here. But before we see you next time, keep exploring different patterns, stay curious, and good luck, play well.